Yo, it's a post Father's Day Hafeman Bros poo show with some extra special moments that we'll save for later.
A poo?
Related to this special Father's Day. Actually, I just took a poo. I was kind of slightly late for the show because of a number 2, an unexpected number 2. I sat down, thought I would just pee, and then stuff happened. So here we are.
All I know is I spent Father's Day and the day before with our dad, and he had an issue wanting to poo, but he couldn't. And I had to hear about it nonstop the entire time.
He talks about it a lot.
I was like, dude, okay, I get it. Like, do some exercises or something. I don't know what to tell you.
And you look at him, he's like, he's making this face, and he's just like, ah. And then you're like, what's going on? He's like, I just can't get it out. Anyway, David, hi.
Wait a minute. Are you in the room with him? Are you in the bathroom when he's taking a poop?
No, but I did hear that you guys showered together.
We did not shower together. We showered at the same time in 2 different showers.
Exact.
Get it right.
Here was the quote. Here was Dad's response. I FaceTimed Dad Sunday because I was checking in. And he's like, and then I said something. I was like, oh, hey. And he's like, your brother's here. Yeah, we just got out of the shower. I was like, what? You guys took a shower together? And you just got...
We took a shower at the same time in 2 different showers, you idiot.
He said we just got out of the shower. So he said we for multiple, and he only said one shower. He said shower singular. So I thought you guys went back to the old days, way long time ago when you were a baby, Ben. And maybe to relive old times for a special Father's Day memory. Special shower together at age 50 and 78. But nope. Apparently you guys had separate showers. David from nasty hot Mississippi. David, I don't envy you at all, man. That hot stuff, don't like it. It's going to get hot here soon. And then, David doesn't want us to talk about that anymore. Who's the best defensive player in the Packers? That's a great question, David. Ben, what do you say to that question?
Define best.
Most valuable, impactful.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing that's very interesting.
Guy that can make a difference in the game.
Impactful, is it the guy who's the most responsible, the guy who you can count on, the guy who's going to make the most plays, the guy who
will clean up the
mess, like
most plays. It's got to make an impact on the game.
I hate to say it. It sounds insanity land to say this.
Say it.
It's Edgerrin Cooper.
David's got it right. He said it to Cooper.
He is the best player on the defense because he's the only player at this point who can make a play.
No,
but I mean, like, change the game with like a game-changing play. Sure. Xavier McKinney is solid.
If they unleash him and let him go,
they have to unleash him because if they don't, they won't stop anybody. They have a bunch of guys who can kind of do stuff, and they should just let him do whatever he wants. Like, honest to God, he should be like a Troy Polamalu, freaking Ray Lewis, kind of just do whatever you want to do. Just go out there and make plays. Do a Charles Woodson. Just jump the freaking line of scrimmage, jump over guys, go make plays.
Did you? I don't remember where I saw this. I don't know if it was recently this happened or I just saw this recently. But Clay Matthews on like Bussin' with the Boys or one of those shows or whatever, I can't remember. But clips were circulating recently because he was like saying, I knew I could still play or whatever. And he was talking about that.
Gutey forced him out of town, and then signed Zadarius Smith and gave him his number, and then drafted Rashawn Gary and gave him his number.
But Clay Matthews was talking about a lot of stuff on that show and how, the way he played and then when he's like, I was like an all-pro at inside linebacker. You guys, I could play. And he talked about that when he went to inside linebacker, they just let him go. They were like, he didn't necessarily he had kind of like gaps responsibility within the defense, but basically he was given the green light to be like, if you see it, go get it. Like, you see it, attack it and stop it. And that's what he did. And he was awesome, right?
Yeah, he was amazing at inside linebacker. That was his best year.
Yeah.
That was his best year for the team.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that always blows my mind. Like they spend so much. All these NFL teams spend so much money on this pass rusher guy. Where if you can have a guy who's a freak of nature in the middle of your defense, who can cause havoc everywhere, that's to me way more valuable. And the fact that the Packers saw Clay Matthews do that for like half a year that one season, and then still moved him back to pass rusher guy for like the next 3 years after that. I would have been like, dude, I know you think the money's not there. We will pay you like a pass rusher guy to be in the middle of the field and cause havoc the way you do. And that's what we need Edgerrin Cooper to do, is cause havoc, just like Clay Matthews did for that half a year when he played inside linebacker, because all the Packers inside linebackers were hurt.
It was crazy. I mean, I know they talked a lot about, and he even said publicly how he preferred to be on the outside and didn't really want to play on the inside and all that sort of stuff. But
it's a lot easier.
But he did it for the team.
Yeah.
And that also says something too. It's like some of the stuff we were talking about before, how these guys that whatever, it's like you got to do, like, you have skills that can be utilized in different ways. And yes, maybe the original plan was for you to be this kind of player or play in this spot, but now as the team evolves and team needs and other things happen, like, you might need to, especially if you're that talented of player, you might need to step into a different role and be that for the team, because that's where you're helping the team the most and filling the biggest need right now. And for a guy like Clay Matthews, like, damn, he could have been like an all-pro freaking inside linebacker for years. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
And they probably would have given him freedom, kind of like to roam and do some different things like some of those guys get in those roles, like Charles Woodson had and whatever, where he could still make sacks and he could still make like some of those type of plays to go along with all the tackles and all the other stuff that he could mess with. Anyway, I saw that recently. It made me reminded me all that stuff. And if you don't recall that, or you are too young of a Packer fan to have really watched that season in its totality, like, try to go back and find some of Clay Matthews highlights as an inside linebacker. It's pretty awesome to just see what he was able to do there. And we hope that Cooper can be that kind of guy. What do we got, David, here? Don't want to be on the outside, but you're here in Mississippi. Okay. Well, I don't want to be on the outside either. We got some heat coming this weekend here in Wisconsin, going to be in the mid 90s all of a sudden. Not that fun. Not that fun at all. But end of the month, we're going up north in a couple weeks. Northern Wisconsin, northern Minnesota, way up to the peak. International Falls, way up high, right on we can shout across the border to the Canadians and say hello. So
and say, take me.
Well, maybe, but also just be like, hey, yo, hey.
Hey, Ozer. Hey, Ozer. Hey.
I like I've never, you know how much Minnesota there is, like north of Duluth and stuff?
Yeah, a lot.
There's a lot up there, so we're gonna go check it out.
But nobody lives there.
International Falls is hopping. I checked it out. Going there. I Falls. Apparently there's a lot of waterfalls up in that area too. So we're gonna do kind of like, we're gonna do some hikes. We're gonna spend some time in 60-degree weather instead of 90-degree weather. It's gonna be great. Because if I'm gonna be outside, I want it to be 60 degrees, not 90 degrees. David says he's always gonna be here to get the truth. All right, David, let's
get ready for some truth.
Get into it. Ben, I said we are going to do the show, and then the magical news happened that Jaire signed.
Oh, I thought you told me that after.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that until...
I knew it.
I didn't know it. I learned it literally 1 hour ago as I was working on some other work stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, the Ravens, that's an odd choice for a team like that to select him. Usually more of a physical, aggressive team, but I do get the connection with college teammates. It seems like more and more of these guys are doing this. Oh, can I find my old college teammate again and stuff like that? Now, they're very different types of players, 100%, and very differently committed to their craft and the way they've played and performed in their roles. But I think it's a weird thing, because the Ravens are supposed to be this physically tough team. John Harbaugh doesn't seem to be like a guy that's going to put up with a lot of nonsense and guys who don't want to play, and you sign this dude. Okay.
Well, Lamar Jackson apparently was his teammate at Louisville.
Yeah,
for
he
a little
was.
bit.
Yeah,
So maybe they figure that connection will help Jaire settle in and not be a douchebag. I don't know. Or a weirdo. I think it's clear he's a weirdo.
and he doesn't want to play football that much. I mean, think about this. This is what I thought about when I first heard that, and I heard the Lamar Jackson teammate thing. Lamar Jackson, a crazy athlete, right? Dude was a crazy athlete, could dominate college football fields just because he was so skilled and fast and insane, right? And he could pass a little bit, but certainly was not a strength of his game. He has worked hard from everything you can see and every account to get so much better, to like improve his game so much. Like his passing is substantially better than it was early on in his career. Like he still, has his issues from at time to time, but he makes a lot better, more accurate passes. He anticipates better. Like he's clearly worked on his ability on that part of playing quarterback and worked hard to it, because I don't know how else you get better at it. And he's performed at, a very high level. He's helped his team win. He's been available. Like he's played through stuff. And then you have Jaire Alexander, who is absolutely nothing like that. Tell me what Jaire Alexander has done to improve his game since he got in the league. Is there any indication he's done anything to make his game any better?
He meditates a lot.
Oh, is that it?
To clear his mind.
Okay.
That I think is already empty to begin with. Oh, snap! Oh, I just had a throat scuzz.
That was gross, but thanks for that.
Here's the thing. It's funny. The guy signed for $4 million. I said last week, or whenever we did the show, I said, Jaire is kind of like, it's like Josh Myers to me. Nobody wants him. The Packers keep telling you he's good. And then he goes and signs a $3 million 1-year deal with the Giants or whoever it was to be their backup center.
The Jets, because they wanted Justin Fields to feel comfortable with a guy. He wanted his hand under a butt that he's used to.
You know what, though? Yes, you're right. Justin Fields was his quarterback at Ohio State. Yes. Okay, right. But anyways, so it's the same thing. It's the same thing. The only team that wanted him is a quarterback for their team, wanted their former teammate on the team.
Maybe. Is that reported?
Well, I'm assuming that's what it was. He signed a $3 million deal. Nobody wanted him. And here's Jaire. The only team that wanted him was the Ravens, who is a quarterback who was his former teammate. They gave him a $4 million deal, who's supposedly an all-pro. Now, Josh Myers was never, ever an all-pro in his history of his life. Jaire was at one point, though he didn't deserve it, but he was. And he could only garner a $4 million deal. And not only that, there are incentives involved, but it's only $2 million more for the incentives. What the hell? What did the Packers offer him? Did they offer him like a $2 million deal to sign back?
That's a great question.
Or did Jaire honestly think he was worth more than what he is? And
of course he did. Of course he did.
I'm assuming the Packers must have offered him like, hey, we will give you like $6 million, and then with incentives, you could earn back your $17 million. Like if you play every single game, you'll earn all $17 million that you're supposed to be getting back. I'm assuming that's what they offered him, something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
And he said, no, I'm going to open market. And he winds up with a $4 million deal with $2 million in incentives, which is, the $4 million deal is 1/4 of what he was supposed to make as a Packer this year. Mm-hmm. That's pathetic. So either he is an idiot, his agent is an idiot, or he really hates the Packers, or the Packers really, really lowballed him. Maybe they only offered him a $1 million deal to stay. I find that hard to believe.
Me too. Yeah.
But it all goes back to the Jeff Hafley comment. He's like, hey, I don't talk hypotheticals, which means he knew. I think Hafley did not want Jaire on his team. He needs players who can read and attack and tackle. And Jaire does none of those three things. He can cover okay once in a blue moon. He can run weird and make a play every now and again because the guy left his guy and then makes a play. But usually it's not that great. And it just shows you that as Packer fans, if you don't watch the film, And I'm not talking just watching the game because you don't see everything. I'm talking watching all 22 after, like we do, like I do. You don't see the truth. And when the team and the coaches are telling you something and the reporters are regurgitating the crap that they're hearing from the coaches, that's what 99% of the fans hear and see and believe. But we've seen enough film and enough tape to know, guess what? Not exactly what everybody said he was for the last 4 years. Not only did he not play half the games, his play did not warrant a good enough contract to even give him enough incentives to make it back. Okay, we'll get to Carlson in a bit there because Jason was a Carlson guy for a while. But anyways,
I believe.
Well, he's got cut today. So anyways, so that's interesting. The Ravens, we'll see what happens there. Apparently the Packers play the Ravens in December. Now, I guarantee Jaire will be injured by then. But hey, maybe he'll come back just to play that one game because he's never really hurt or he's never really injured. He's just hurt and won't play.
Hurt a little bit, yeah. Maybe he'll miss like 10 games leading up to that one. So and then come back for that one because that's important to him.
And that would be awesome.
He's about what's important to him, not what's important to the team. That's been clear. That should be clear to everyone, regardless of whether you somehow buy into crap that you still think he's good, even though he's not. Okay, so I'm just reading some more reports, and this was the deal. Apparently, Lamar Jackson did want him. So he said, I love all our corners, but don't get me wrong, but go get him. So Lamar wants Jaire. They go make him happy, blah, blah, blah. Quote from John Harbaugh, it made Lamar happy. I think it made everybody happy. It was an opportunity to become a better team today, really. Well, opportunity is the key word there, I guess, of all things, because it's always an opportunity. I mean, there is a slight possibility that somehow Jaire Alexander becomes motivated again by something other than money and by himself, wants to play hard, tries to perform, plays through a little bit of being hurt, bumps and bruises and stuff like that, and actually gives the Ravens some good games. But not likely, unless he's expecting that, if he plays really hard this 1 year, he'll get rewarded with a big fat contract again, which I don't think so. That's been a trend with corners, older corners, right, Ben? It's like they don't do that anymore. They're giving these guys like a 1 year. You play well, they're like, okay, now we'll find another guy who's motivated to play for 1 year that's older. We'll plug him in. That's kind of the trend of the NFL these days, a corner for older corners. And every year, Alexander's getting older, even though he's only 28. He's got a lot of injuries on the tires there, and I don't know. So let's see. A quote that's never been said and will probably never be said in NFL history is, "We've got too many corners who can cover," said Humphrey. So they're all excited. But again, he doesn't really fit there. He doesn't fit the play style of Marlon Humphrey. He doesn't fit the play style of Kyle Hamilton. He doesn't fit the play style of a bunch of these dudes. So I guess if it was just to make your quarterback happy to bring an old friend back, okay. Teams have done worse or more stupid things, but
the Jets sure did that the last couple of years, and how did that work out for them?
Right. There's only one guy, though. It's only one guy. It's not like all the guys. It's not like sign all my buddies and let me run the offense. And
has there been any former Packer receivers or offensive linemen signed to the Steelers yet this year? Since Rodgers signed with him last week?
Yeah, not that I've seen.
Dave Bakhtiari come out of retirement and join the Steelers? Randall Cobb come back and coach up the guys? Or
coach him up? Cobby will coach him up. Maybe just for like a training camp signing so you can coach him up and then cut him. That could be a Cobby role.
Yeah.
He won't make the team.
Did he get traded from the Jets to the Steelers for a piece of gum? And
not yet.
I know I often say for a piece of gum. That's my thing, but that's what
you do. It is your qualifier. It's like it's like your go-to for value of close to nothing, as close to nothing as you can get, right? In the NFL. Now, even though it's close to nothing value in the NFL, it's still freaking like $4 million here, which is not nothing. But
I think it's what Eric Stokes signed for with the Raiders. So you tell me if that's a good corner price.
It's hilarious. So here was the other thing that came out like right after the Jaire cut. which we didn't get a chance to talk about because we talked, we did our show, and then this came out like slightly after, like the next day. Because everyone was like, "Oh, okay, they cut him down. They can split the cap hit here between the 2 years and blah 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 blah." And um, and then the Packers said, "Nope, we're doing the full hit this year in 2025,"
which was interesting.
which people said, which was reported by, I think it was like Nagler and Justice Mosqueda or something. We're talking about it, and they said that means that the Packers had to have been able to restructure the contract in some way to be able to put the full cap hit this year and not have to do it over 2 years. I'm not as good with all the cap and the contract stuff and money, money in general and me. But like, if that was the case, they did get him to sign some sort of restructure and then cut him. No? Okay.
Well, that's yes. That is true. That is true.
Okay. And because they had so much cap space this year, they're like, well, we'll just take the big fat hit because there's not too many more valuable guys to sign anyway. So
whatever. And Andy Herman actually on his show today went through a whole bunch of free agents, and none of them are worth a pinch of salt. It's funny though. He talked about Jalen Ramsey being like the day before getting traded for him and paying him $19-20 million a year. And I'm like, what? No,
Packers not doing that.
That's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
They're absolutely not doing that. It's got to be funny. I wonder what the conversations were like, because I know you have to believe the Packers offered him more in like he would have gotten more money from the Packers by staying with the Packers, taking the reduction, and would have had more security as well. And instead, he ends up with this, which is pretty much bottom of the barrel for a guy who's 28 at a premium position. And it also goes to show you that most of the rest of the NFL really doesn't think he's that good, especially if his old buddy had to tell the team to go get him and nobody else was getting him.
Yeah, right? It's not a great vote of confidence when the head coach, the new team you signed, just says, "Well, it makes the quarterback happy." He could have said, "Wow, yeah, I mean, this guy used to be an All-Pro. Like, we're so excited to have him here." Nope, it makes the quarterback happy. So whatever. I guess that's part of it. What's a couple $1 million to make a quarterback happy?
Let's talk about another guy who's the Packers did sign, who's been kicked around a little bit, who spoke recently this week and had some interesting things to say, and that's Isaiah Simmons. So now, interesting, like hearing his perspective about how he's like said everywhere he's been, the teams all had him playing, learning all these different positions and wanted to utilize them in all these different spots and learn all the different intricacies of the defense. And the Packers are currently just letting him work at a linebacker spot. And he said, I've never had that in my career. So here's a talented guy who's like got a lot of athleticism, has probably been knocked down a few notches in, just a few pegs in terms of his ego and whatever he thinks of himself coming into the league, but has those skills obviously to have been, the high first round selection. So, and now the Packers are simplifying stuff for him so he can play fast and not have to think so much and maybe not make it as complicated for him. And so could that guy be an impactful guy this year on defense and special teams?
I think on special teams, yes. On defense, I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting for the Quay Walker situation.
Yeah.
What is going to happen there? Like they did not pick up his fifth year option. So this is his contract's up after this year. So they'll have to decide on what they want to do about that based on how he performs this year. They have Isaiah McDuffie signed for this year and next year on a very inexpensive contract. 2 years, $8 million, I think it was. So $4 million a year, which is what Jaire is making. Anyways, back to what I was saying. But he's a very solid player who can play on first down and second down. Maybe he has some issues on third down, right, and coverage and that sort of thing, because he's not the fastest guy in the world or the biggest guy for that matter. But he's solid, and you can always count on him to make the right play. I think what Isaiah Simmons is probably going to be is just an Eric Wilson substitute. But it's very interesting because Eric Wilson, of course, was smart, played like probably above his athletic abilities because of his intelligence and his experience. where Isaiah Simmons is kind of the opposite. He seems like a very smart guy in that interview. I've seen the interview. He talks very well and seems like he knows what he's talking about. But he's also been utilized all over the place. He said he played more spots at slot corner than he did at linebacker during his career with the Cardinals. And even last year with the Giants, he said he played more spots at slot corner than he did at linebacker. Now, he also didn't play much. He said I don't think he wasn't even active, I think, for some of the games.
It's so wild.
So I don't know what happened there. Like why why bother? Like, I don't know. Something happened with the Giants that didn't go well for him. But let's face it, the Giants didn't win many games. So maybe they don't know what the hell they're doing anyways.
That's fair.
But that's fair. With his athletic traits and his, he was a number 8 or 9 or something, top 10 pick, I think he was in the league, or top 12 or whatever it was that year that he came out. Mm-hmm. And it was very, I was excited. He was one of the guys I kind of targeted for the Packers, is just a piece that you can kind of use anywhere. He's got the speed. He's got coverage ability. He played safety in college, but he's got the size of a linebacker, so he can do all types of things. I think it really lets them. I think if he comes in on third down and helps out as like a coverage guy, and you use him and Edgerrin Cooper out there together, I think Quay Walker's usage is going to go down either way. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to realize another first-round pick by Gutey that was not all he's cracked up to be.
It's interesting. I just looked it up. So Isaiah Simmons is 26 years old. Quay Walker's 25.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty cheap gamble to be like, hey, if this dude shows out this year, we could sign him for, a 3-year contract at way less than Quay Walker probably wants, and just say like, see you later, Quay Walker, after this season.
Yeah, it's very interesting how I wonder what the numbers, like what the stats look like for Isaiah Simmons during his first 3 seasons with the Cardinals, and compare those stats to Quay Walker's stats. I wonder what those stats look like. And then you think of like the Cardinals just threw him out the door after 3 years. I think they cut him. Like he didn't even make it to the 4th year, and he was a first-round pick. And it's weird to think that Quay Walker, who was drafted 22 overall, I think, like almost 10 spots or so after Isaiah Simmons was drafted. Not that same draft, but, I think it was the next 2 years later or whatever it was, is a guy that fans of the Packers and the Packer coaches are talking about him like he should be an extension coming his way to be the linebacker of the future. But what are his stats like?
All right, I'm looking at it right now just because you brought it up. So his rookie season, he only started 7 games, but so he did have 54 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss. He had 1 pick, a couple passes defended in 2021 and in 2022. So those are his second and third seasons. Isaiah Simmons started 17 games in 21, 13 games he started in 22, but played in all 17. He had 2 interceptions in 22. He had 1 in 21. He had 7 passes defended in each of those seasons. He had 6 forced fumbles between those 2 seasons. He had 105 tackles in 21 and 99 tackles in 22, and 4 and 5 tackles for a loss those seasons, respectively. Those numbers are not that much different than Quay Walker's numbers.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But Isaiah Simmons was considered a bust.
Right, and then he's out.
Where Quay Walker is talked about as if he should get an extension, and his stock is on the rise. Why is that? It's just a weird thing. It's like
it's a Gutey thing, Packer thing.
Yes, that's what it is. And it's the reason why they keep signing extensions to players that don't deserve them. The Cardinals were like, hey, this guy is around average or better than average linebacker. We can do better. We'll let him test the free agency and so forth. And I think Quay Walker is, if he comes out and doesn't get hurt and plays awesome this year and gets like 3 interceptions and 3 sacks and 2 forced fumbles and 150 tackles and he's all over the field making plays, all right, shut me up. That's awesome. Sign him to a big deal. But I think it's going to be hard for him to do that when Edgerrin Cooper is there, already making plays from last year.
Mm-hmm.
And Isaiah Simmons might be there.
Motivated.
And McDuffie's there, who's solid and smart, and Hafley trusts him. So you're talking about 3 other guys besides Quay Walker who can get snaps at linebacker, who I think will play really well. And I think Quay Walker's snaps are going to go down. Plus, I think he's injured right now. He wasn't practicing at OTAs and minicamp this year. Now, LaFleur said he should be ready by training camp, but he didn't practice during OTAs where all the reporters were there. They said he was one of the guys who wasn't there, or wasn't practicing with the main guys. He was like on the side with the injured guys or whatever it was. I don't know, but I mean, if he misses time, you're just giving Isaiah Simmons an option to come out there and make plays, and also McDuffie and then who knows about Hopper or whatever his name is.
Right. Yeah.
He's there too. He was a 3rd round pick last year.
Right.
So, I mean, there's plenty of spots there and plenty of players there all around the same age or younger who are just as reliable and just as much upside, if not more, than what Quay Walker has shown and proven to us so far in his first 3 years. And if he doesn't really ball out, I think his days are numbered. And I think the whole Jaire situation and the Savage situation is only letting Gutey hopefully realize the truth of what's going on. Like, hey, maybe I screwed up. Maybe cut your losses when you can, instead of, and maybe the Bakhtiari situation as well. But like, when things go bad, cut your losses. Don't keep doubling down when you're not seeing the dividends come back, right? You're just seeing the same old, yet you keep doubling down and giving up more money and more time. And the guy just isn't a superstar. So stop paying guys like superstars. I'm getting sick of being a Packer fan and watching how every time they give a guy a bunch of money, he all of a sudden turns into a turd.
Well, but you're right. He doesn't necessarily turn into a turd. It's just the expectations go up, but the play doesn't go up, right? Or it goes down a little bit.
It goes down.
Right. In some cases, but like we've talked about many times, a number of these players weren't at that level, performing at that level to begin with. They got paid on potential or projection, and then they just were kind of like, okay, and that's how the Packers stay in this cycle. That's how that's as fans and the team, that's how we stay in the cycle of, okay, we're good, we're making progress, we make the playoffs and then we lose. We make the playoffs and then we lose. We're never good enough, because of this continued practice that, yes, there is going to be a certain level of sustained success with the stability, right, that you have by keeping players around who know your system and who are familiar with everything, and you know what you have, and yada yada yada, all that stuff. But then we have our limit, we have our ceiling, and we reach the ceiling, and then we run into somebody with a much better team in the playoffs, and then they get bounced, and that's what happens. And you can say, oh, we missed this guy, or 5 or 3 or 4 plays here and we could have been in the game, and you can say all that stuff, fine, but the result is you still lose because you don't have enough difference makers, and you pay guys, like we've talked about many times, almost ad nauseum, I'm sure, you pay guys to be impact players who are not impact players. So there's a couple of interesting things that dovetail really nicely off of this, but I do want to finish on Gutey before we go into that, and then I'll wrap it back around. So Gutey's this whole process, Jaire signing for this little, the Josh Myers thing, just think about Josh Myers for a second. We have, we painstakingly went through the 2021 draft, which was Gutey made the most egregious errors of all time in that draft. We talked about how the offensive line pieces the Packers could have in place if they had just been smart and drafted those guys. He went with Eric Stokes and Josh Myers, first 2 picks. But Josh Myers, Ben, was the starting center for this team. Unless he was injured, he was the starting center for this team for the last 4 years. Just think about that. Starting. And when he was let go, nobody wanted him. Nobody. And the Jets gave him a 1-year contract for $3.5 million just because they wanted Justin Fields to know a butt that he was going to have his hands under. Like, but just think about that. That guy took up a starting position on the Green Bay Packers offense for 4 years. This is the evaluation of talent by this GM. It's proven time and time again. He thought Eric Stokes was great. Guy couldn't even play. He thinks all these guys. I see the things about LVN going to be the difference maker this year. What are we talking about? This GM does not know how to evaluate football talent. He might know how to look at measurables. He might know how to look at the things about the weight room and the traits. But he does not know how to evaluate football players. And in football, you need football players to win. You don't need just good athletes to win.
Well, just look at, he drafted Luke Musgrave over Tucker Kraft.
Yeah.
Thank God he drafted Tucker Kraft. I'm assuming somebody got into his ear about Tucker Kraft, just like last year with Evan Williams.
Yeah, I'm sure he wasn't watching South Dakota State games, right. Gutey, right?
Just like he probably wanted Bullard last year. And then we know that the scout from the West Coast was like, Evan Williams is like the shit. Like, I know he just drafted a safety, but I'm telling you, Evan Williams is the shit. Please draft him, Gutey. That was not a Gutey draft. That was the scout who told him to draft him. Just like when he drafted Tucker Kraft, it was probably the scout that told him to draft him. He liked Musgrave. Why? Because he could run really fast in a straight line. He forgot that, guess what? He also trips over his own feet all the time. Maybe that's a problem. When he has to move a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, he trips and falls. But if he runs straight, he's fast. Eric Stokes runs really straight, fast straight line. But when you cover a guy, you got to move all over the place. And that's why Eric Stokes sucked. So I think it's what it's proven to me is Gutey is actually bad at his job.
Yeah.
He looks at stats and he looks at numbers and then makes decisions. But I don't think he can see players play on the field. That doesn't register in his brain. Or something. I guess I don't know. And we'll see what happens with Jordan Love moving forward here too. And the fact that he didn't consult Elton Jenkins about the movement to center before he went and spent all this money signing a guy who played his spot. When they just let Myers go. And now Elton Jenkins, of course, is upset and not practicing. He's at the facility. He was there for mini camps, but he didn't practice. These are all things that as a GM, you need to have your head around. Mm-hmm. If your plan is to move your starting left guard to center and then spend a whole bunch of money, more money than you're paying anybody else in the offensive line to fill that left guard hole, you better talk to your left guard who's going to become your center about that before you do it. And he didn't do that. So there's a lot of issues. He also didn't address corner at all,
right?
In the draft the last 2 years, other than 2 7th-round picks.
No, they could get lucky and stumble on somebody here, maybe saving them again, but we'll see.
I don't know, but it just goes to show you some crazy stuff. That's really like I don't think he gets a lot of credit for the last 2 years of having all these guys who played pretty well. The bottom line is those guys had to play because we had nobody else who could fill the spots on the roster. They were forced to play because all the other players that he spent too much money on, they were old and cut or whatever. And those guys had to play. So you know what? Just being on the field makes them look good. But still, Jaden Reed had 10 drops last year. But everybody keeps saying, Jaden Reed's really good. He had 10 drops. And they weren't like deep shots. It wasn't like Christian Watson drops. They were like 5-yard passes. They hit him in the hands. Now, not always. Sometimes the Jordan Love passes, they're not great. Okay, go ahead, talk. Sorry.
No, it's just, it ties right into, I just wanted to remind you and everybody, remember what Gutey said, which was very telling. And it kind of, I think this is the problem more than almost anything. Not just that he also, obviously, clearly he gets obsessed with the, the relative athletic scores versus like the tape or how they perform or their football acumen. But the other issue was, it was very telling, if you recall, like after, it was before last season, right? when the Packers had all those draft picks coming up, and Gutey was doing a press conference, and Jason Wilde asked him about Jayden Reed specifically, right? And he said, how did you know a guy like Jayden Reed was going to be, out of this, in that range of guys with all the receivers that were on the board? Like, how did you know Jayden Reed was going to be such a good player and blah, 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 because he had a really good rookie season. And Gutey, specifically said how, you got to be careful about falling in love with players. Like, we don't do that. We look at all these guys that they're kind of the same. He basically said, like, we have these groups and tiers of players, and to us, they're all the same. And so again, you're looking at height, weight, relative athletic scores, measurable things like that, but you're not looking at how does this guy as a football player, or what is this guy's makeup? Like, is he going to, when stuff gets tough, is he going to push through? Is he going to work hard all the time? Is he going to be reliable? Is he going to be the things that you need to be to ultimately be successful in a game like football, in a sport like football, that is going to test your will, that is going to test your body, that is going to test, God, I'm exhausted. I'm in a lot of pain. Can I keep going? Am I here for the team, or am I here for myself? Like, all those things are things he's not looking at, because he doesn't differentiate these people from other people. And those, it's really weird to me. Because like, we watched when you saw the behind the drafting of the Lions, right? When they improved their team so well that one year, those were the specific guys they wanted. Like, they knew the positions they needed, but they're like, we want this guy. We want Jahmyr Gibbs. We want Brian Branch. These are guys we want. Like, this
Sam
guy.
Laporta.
It's not going to be like one of
linebacker
these
from Iowa.
It's not going to be one of these 5 linebackers that we think are all the same. We want this guy. And I understand how, okay, if someone takes that guy, then what do you do? Then you got to have a backup plan, but you should have people targeted for other traits that are important to winning in football than just the measurables that you look at and you see them all the same. It's weird. And I think that's a big part of his problem. I really do. So to Gutey, he looked and he said Josh Myers is the same as Creed Humphrey and everybody else that's right, Landon Dickerson and whoever else. They're all the same.
He's not the same, because he took him before all those guys. He took Josh Myers before Landon Dickerson, and before
Leonard Dickerson went off.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay. He should have taken Landon Dickerson in the first round.
But he took him like way before.
He could have took Landon Dickerson in the first round, and he could have took Quinn Miners in the second round, and that would have been two Pro Bowl guards in the NFL right now.
All pro guards too.
And Landon Dickerson was a center, so he could have played center. Yeah. But whatever. We talked about this a million times.
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, don't you think that's a big part of the issue?
I don't think it's as much.
You don't think so? I really
because I think he does target guys and he does make moves. I think Jaire was a target for him.
But why?
Jordan Love was a target for him.
It's not.
That's like, bullshit that he's saying he doesn't. No, he makes moves to get guys he likes.
What is he looking at, though?
I don't know.
What is
he's looking at? The numbers. What the bottom line is this: he should look at the play on the field, the makeup of the player.
Yeah.
How smart they are. Do they know what the hell they're doing? And then the tipping point is if you have two guys that are similar there, and then you look at the athletic traits and say, oh, this guy's got athletic traits, that takes him over the top and why you draft that guy. Gutey does it backwards. He looks at the athletic traits first, and then he has that as a tier of players. And he tiers them by athletic traits instead of by football player. You should tier them by football player, and then athletic trait will bump up guys within a tier. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you had Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft basically the same, though they're not, because one was a true football player and one's just a guy who runs fast in a straight line. But if you had them the same, right? The speed of Luke Musgrave you might say, okay, that guy's fast, so maybe I'll draft him early. I wouldn't, because Tucker Kraft had better agility scores, better strength rating, also had on the tape, just watching film, way better run after the catch because he played running back in high school. Of course, it was just 7-on-7 or whatever. It was weird because it's a small high school, but still,
Yeah.
he had way more skills and abilities than Luke Musgrave has. Period. But I think Gutey just does it backwards. He's like, he's a number. He seems to look at the numbers. It's which is what I think a lot of teams do nowadays. Like they look at the numbers first. It's a very, it's a Moneyball thing. Go back to the Moneyball movie of baseball. Like it's turned into football. And the problem is you kind of have to do a little both. I think you should watch the film, trust your scouts, and then let those, like I said, let the stats and the traits and so forth maybe bump a guy up as long as he's already in the same tier as another player. You know what I'm saying? As far as a football player.
Mm-hmm.
But if a guy's at like Evan Williams is tier 1 football player, right? And Javon Bullard is maybe tier 2 football player. Maybe Javon Bullard had better stats at the combine. So that would raise him up in the tier 2, but Evan Williams should still have been drafted earlier because his tier is higher as a player in football. And teams that do that win. And teams that recognize a player for what he can contribute immediately or now, and you pay him a respectable sum, because all these teams are always like, Gutey is a hunter for the superstar. That's what he wants. He wants a superstar player. And when you're a hunter for a superstar, you're going to miss probably 80-90% of the time. But when you're just getting the guy who is a solid, good player, you're hitting probably 80% of the time. Like Isaiah McDuffie in the 4th round or 6th round or whatever he was drafted.
6th, yeah.
Great pick. Awesome guy. He's been a solid contributor. You know exactly what you're getting with him. He's good. Tucker Kraft, 3rd round. Awesome. Evan Williams, 4th round. Awesome. These guys are contributors and good players right away because they're good players. And you know exactly what you're getting. And maybe they should have been drafted higher. But teams, and it's not just Gutey, it's all these teams. They covet that superstar so badly that they will waste higher picks on a hit or miss instead of taking the guy that's a good, solid 10-year veteran, which we've talked about this for years. How many times they could just take a guy? I would rather take my 1st-round pick and sign a guy who I know is going to be a top 10 player at his position in the NFL for a 10-year period. And Gutey just doesn't do that. Yeah. He takes the Lucas Van Ness, who's a freak of nature in the gym shorts, but doesn't know what the hell he's doing on the football field. And that's a problem.
Yeah, it is. And I want dudes who are serious about football too. And Tucker Kraft, holy crap, that dude is serious about football. He
looked like he lost some weight. Did you see his interview? I saw his interview.
I did.
From minicamp. He looked a little skinnier. I don't know if I like that. Now maybe he's just buffer.
He's almost too serious though. I'm like, man, Tucker, it's okay. It's not. It's only like it's off season right now. It's like, what was it, like minicamp? Relax a little bit, man. It's okay. But I do want guys that are serious about football, as opposed to guys that don't watch it or don't give a crap. So this is where the last thing I wanted to talk about was Ed Policy. Did you see anything about Ed Policy's interview with Larry McCarron?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I heard about all of it.
So I'm just curious, is with this change coming, we knew Mark Murphy was kind of on the way outs anyway. His crowning thing was the draft and, blah, blah, blah. Is some of this more serious stuff like cutting ties with dead weight, some of that sort of thing, is that coming from the new leadership and new president, Ed Policy, maybe having a little bit more say and maybe talking to his GM about, hey, you got a short leash here, man, if you don't start tuning some of this stuff up? Because he seems like an intelligent guy. He's obviously, his dad was very successful in the NFL. I didn't realize he was ahead of the Arena Football League for years too, before he ended up coming to Green Bay. He's been with the Packers for a long time in some capacity.
13 years, they said.
But I don't know. And that might be good because the way they ran it for a long time, president was really out of the football operations. Then when things got hairy with McCarthy, then it was, we're all involved. Mark Murphy's going to be involved along with the GM and head coach.
Sounds like
now,
not as much as we thought.
well, yeah, according
One
to what he said, yeah.
of Ed Policy's things said he's going to have more meetings between Gutey and LaFleur and Russ Ball and him than Mark Murphy even had. So apparently he thinks there wasn't enough meetings with the top head guys of the organization.
So could this be a really positive thing? Maybe he's going to clean some stuff up that's not been cleaned up for a while.
I think what he brings is more of a businessman type attitude, which I don't know if that's good or bad, because that's kind of what our president has done and his buddy Elon Musk did to the government, where they, slashed jobs and rearranged everybody and all this kind of crap. And they tried to make it run more smooth, and they just ended up causing more havoc.
Well, the bigger difference, though, that Ed Policy's been a successful businessman.
Okay.
He hasn't bankrupted like 6 or 7 companies, but neither here nor there. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, sometimes trying to shore up the ship, or whatever you want to say, when things are already kind of good, just leads to chaos. And I don't know if that's going to necessarily be a good thing. When it comes to the fact that he is, Jason Wilde said on his show today or yesterday, one of those two, he said that he heard from people in the building that really since probably a month or so before the draft, Policy was pretty much being the president of the team.
Sure.
Like Mark Murphy was doing the draft stuff, but everything else he kind of gave to Policy to start doing whatever he needed to get done. And definitely after the draft, Mark Murphy's like golfing and hanging out and not giving a shit, right? And Policy is now the guy who's been taking care of stuff and kind of pushing things forward. So he may have been the reason why he told Gutey to cut ties with Jaire and so forth and whatever. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And as I think David talked about earlier in the text, is that he didn't extend Gutey or LaFleur or Russ Ball for that matter. Now they all three of them have 2 years left on their deal, so it's not like they're in the last year of their deal and it's like a lame duck situation. Mm-hmm. But people said that when Ted took over, when Bob Harlan left and Mark Murphy came in, the last thing Bob Harlan did was extend Ted and Mike McCarthy to longer contracts, even though they still had 3 years left on their deal. He extended them. So before Mark Murphy took over, and Murphy did not extend Gutey or LaFleur or anybody else for that matter, and letting Policy make the decisions on that. Now, I don't think it's that big of a hairy deal. Some people are making a big stink about it, like LaFleur's on the hot seat and Gutey's on the hot seat. I don't think that's the case.
No.
They're not in a lame duck year. There's still 2 years left. I think it's fine. But whatever.
Yeah, Gutey could be a little bit. Rick is. We know Rick's excited. He popped in for a minute to make his comment. He's super relieved Jaire is not a Raider, and he doesn't have the starting cornerback tandem of Eric Stokes and Jaire Alexander, who'll be injured after a game or two.
They both will.
Yeah. But I mean, look, the guy he's only 54 years old. But he's got a lot of experience working in football. He's clearly all been about football. Like, he wanted to work in sports. He wanted to work in football. He said, this job or NFL commissioner were like the jobs he wanted ultimately, is his crowning achievement and what he wanted to do for the tail end of his career. And I don't know. Plus, seems slightly more professional than Murphy. I mean, it'll certainly be a more professional representation for the Green Bay Packers organization.
Yeah. We don't need to. I won't have any more turnip truck driver.
No, you will.
It's going to be sad. I won't be able to use that anymore.
Oh, Rick is still here. There. Oh, connection going in and out. No, Rick. So bad. Gutey's seat should be on fire. Judah time. How many Pro Bowlers and All Pros do we have? Not many. Not many.
The only ones we have are guys we signed as free agents in the last 2 years.
That's true.
Or last year, whatever. McKinney and Josh Jacobs.
Oof.
Pretty sad.
That's rough.
None of the draft picks have panned out. I can tell you that.
Well, a lot of buzz around one guy that could, barring how this year goes and how much they use him, could be an all-pro at his position or Pro Bowler for sure. That's Tucker Kraft.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not done with the whole Carmen policy thing. Or not Carmen.
Oh, okay.
That was his dad.
Yeah, that was his dad.
Dad policy.
I didn't even know his dad's still alive. He said he talks to his dad all the time yet, and
Oh,
all this stuff.
no, I
I'm
didn't
like,
know
damn, how old is your dad? But he still gives them advice and still knows what's up.
Well,
what about ed policy? What do you
well,
got?
the thing that everybody was talking about and Mark Tauscher was giving Jason Wilde some shit today on it. I'll tell you that.
Oh, okay. I like it.
So apparently, policy opened his statement with the top 3 things he's going to bring as the president of the Packers. And number 1 was winning games. Number 3 was to improve and become committed to the community of Green Bay. But number 2 was keeping the Packers in Green Bay. And when I heard that, I was like, come again? Your number 1 priority is winning games. Your number 2 priority is keeping the Packers in Green Bay. That should either be your number 1 priority or not even thought of, because they should always be in Green Bay. Because if there's one thing I could say, if the Packers ever moved away from Green Bay, they would not be the Packers. Like, they would not have the fan base. The Packers are as much a part of Green Bay as any other sports thing ever in the history of all time. Like, you can't take the Packers out of Green Bay because they would lose their soul. It would be over. Like, the fans, you wouldn't have the same. It's not the same. Like, and I don't know how you would even do that. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But anyways, that's the thing that I thought was odd. Now, there are some
interesting statement.
There are some things going on where they want, they're having fits with the lease that the Green Bay is giving them. They want to lower the lease or whatever it is that Green Bay is charging them, and they're whining about that and having to raise ticket prices and so forth and blah, blah, blah. And all. They're just trying to whine about stuff. So I don't know. But when you say something like that, and then the reason why Tauscher was giving Wilde shit, he was like, did you ask him what he meant by that? And Wilde's like, oh, none of us reporters really asked a second question about that.
They always blow it. It's like,
and Tauscher's like, what the hell do you guys do out there?
Yeah.
If I heard him say that, I'd be like, what do you mean keeping the Packers in Green Bay? They are always going to be in Green Bay. That's the way it is. And Gutey's like, or not Gutey, but Wilde's like, oh, I guess it just didn't, he started the thing like that. Like, I guess none of us really thought of it. Like, and then once all the stories came out, that was the thing all Packer fans saw and were like, what? So it's, I don't know if he's just trying to scare people or if there's a legitimate, like he's trying to, or if it's just something people say, like, oh, we're going to keep the team here. That's my number 2 priority. Winning games is number 1.
It seems a little weird to have be just something you say, but it does. It makes.
He also said in that order, by the way. He said those 3 priorities in that order, which is a very weird thing to say to me, from what I feel.
It makes
so winning games is more important than keeping the Packers in Green Bay.
I mean, it definitely makes you think that it's one of 2 scenarios. Most likely is that it's either there have been some rumblings and conversations and whatever considerations about potentially looking for another spot. It makes you think that maybe that's happening behind closed doors and we don't know about it. Or it's a leveraging point that he's trying to use, right? Like maybe to get some better deals from the city or whatever, get a new stadium or get a retractable roof stadium on Lambeau Field or whatever, which I would agree with. Like that should happen. Like
it's just too damn cold.
It is. It's too freaking cold.
You're playing games in January, February in the playoffs. I think we've lost a lot of those games because it's just too damn cold.
Yeah,
especially when you build your team around a superstar quarterback, it affects your team.
It does.
There's a reason why the last time we won the Super Bowl, we were on the road the whole time because we were playing in domes and, in nice stadiums the whole time. Well, that's not true. We played Chicago, but we almost lost that one.
Yeah.
We also almost lost the one against Philly if it wasn't for Tremont getting the pick at the end.
Mm-hmm. And James Starks being awesome.
Yeah, James Starks. But the Atlanta game indoors killed them.
Yeah.
Steelers game indoors. I mean, we needed a whole bunch of picks and defensive touchdown and Clay Matthews, Ryan
Howard
Pickett
Green.
Spillett, and Howard Green with the tip and Nick Perry or Nick Collins with the Nick Perry. I didn't do anything. He wasn't there yet. Nick Collins with the pick and return for touchdown. But those are all. But when you build the team to be like that, now they've gotten bigger offensive linemen, so maybe they're trying to build to be a tougher run the ball type team. I don't know. That's me personally. I like that style better than the run and gun, especially if you have an outdoor stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do get to the Super Bowl, you're at a disadvantage because the Super Bowl is always going to be in a nice stadium, warm weather, or a dome. It's just always going to be because it's February and nobody in the hell is going to want to sit outside freezing their nuts off at the Super Bowl.
Paying thousands and thousands of dollars to be there. Yeah.
So that's why, like, the whole thing, like you said, with this policy guy, is he running it more like a business? Is he being more ruthless? Now, is he being ruthless not only with the GM and telling him to cut ties with Jaire and such, but also ruthless with the city of Green Bay and ruthless with the fans, trying to scare him by saying stuff like this? I think it's going to be a very different feel from turnip truck driver Mark Murphy to businessman, no nonsense, Ed Policy. I think there's going to be a huge difference in how Packer fans see the president of the Packers and also how the rest of the NFL sees the president of the Packers. Let's face it, all those billionaires probably laughed every time they heard Mark Murphy talk because he sounds kind of goofy, right? This guy's going to talk more like a businessman, which is what all the other owners are and what they all probably figure out with more. And maybe he's going to fall in line more with the businessmen and also be more of a cutthroat guy when it comes to stuff like that. So I don't know. These are all questions that I have and all things that have come to light based on just that one interview. It's a very different dynamic than we've seen. Bob Harlan was like your old, like a grandpa, nice guy who you just fell in love with. He was super, super sweet when he was president, right? And Mark Murphy, turnip truck driver, goofball, talks like, coming off the farm, kind of goofy, says whatever he says, all that kind of stuff.
He helped get rid of Aaron Rodgers.
Right. It was awesome. This guy, no nonsense, talks like a smart guy, talks like a businessman, talks like he knows what he's doing, and he's ruthless. So very different than any president we've had over the last 30 years. That's going to be a shocker, I think, for all of us. We might see some price hikes, folks. We might see some squeeze on the Green Bay for some extra money or something. I don't know, because they know without the Packers, the Green Bay is just a regular dumpy little town. No offense to everybody who lives in Green Bay, but it kind of is a dump little town.
He's got he was a big part of creating all the stuff for Titletown, right? And envisioning and making that all happen. And he's got more plans to expand and do more stuff. So, it might come down to maybe it's a leverage point too to get some more of those things quickly approved through the city or get some assistance from the taxpayer base or whatever to, build new things, add on to the, the area and the experience because the community is using it and it's becoming more of a draw for fans and all that good stuff. It's weird when you get into all that stuff for sure and you're playing games and stuff, but yeah, he's definitely going to be more of a chess player than a checkers player. Like, that Mark Murphy probably was.
Okay, so I don't know what you were going to
I'm a checker
topic to, but
I'm a checkers player. I don't play no chess. I'm not good at it anyway. I'm a checkers player, my friend.
I'm a Spirit Island player.
Hey, speaking of, real quick, I talked to one of our IT guys today because he was the employee of the month.
Get out of town.
Turns out he loves games. And he lives not too far away, so I invited him to gaming weekend to come and hang if he wants to come and play some games for a while. Yeah, because he's a cool dude.
You invited him to Nick's house without Nick knowing?
Yeah, Nick's going to have to get over it. He's going to be my guest.
That's going to be too many guys.
And his name is Wes. Bring some games for more players. Bring some games for less players. Because it's not like he's going to hang out all weekend, but he'd probably come over for like part of a day and play games and stuff. So he loves to play games. It's like one of his favorite things to do. And his girlfriend limits the number of games he can have because their house is so small. But he has 3 gaming rooms at his house in a small house.
What?
Yeah.
Dang.
And he also said that the people that he normally plays with are not really, they're more like me. They don't think like 4 or 5 moves ahead. They're just trying to figure out what they're doing like the next move or in their move. And he's like, I usually win because most of the people are like that. And I'm thinking like 4 or 5 moves ahead. I was like, well, I got some players for you that might compete with you. So
yeah, sometimes you gotta purposely play like crap so make people feel good.
Oh, well, I don't purposely ever do it. It's just always.
I don't do it when
happens.
Mo's around, but Mo takes freaking 100 years on his turns.
I did ask him that. I was like, are you a violator of the time code? Like you're taking 10 million years for one turn just to make sure you don't, miss anything and make a mistake like the rest of us? And he's like, no, I don't do that. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Then you're fine.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
All right, my last he's a nice dude. Anyway, the only reason I brought it up to him is because I was like, he's a nice dude. I'd like to hang out with him. I'd like to get to know him better.
Oh, that's
nice
good.
Dude. Yeah. His name's Weston, but he likes to go by Wes. But most people don't call him Wes in his family, or his really close friends. They always call him Weston. They've always called him Weston, and he's like, but actually I like Wes, but they all call me Weston.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like Barbara Walters in these interviews, these employee of the month interviews, because I get all these things out of people that no one else, they never said before. Like I get people to open up to me in ways they've never opened up. He never told anyone that before.
Well, you are an award-winning journalist.
I mean,
right there. Yeah. Award-winning. So,
all right. We'll end tonight's show on this, other than Raider Rick having a little celebration that Jaire is not a Raider. Congratulations, Raider Rick. So it was Father's Day. I'm going to make us big here. I got this nice card for my kids.
Whoa.
Dad, I can't imagine what life would have been like without you.
Well, they wouldn't have life.
Exactly. I said my part was minimal in bringing you here, and didn't take that long. But anyway, you're here, and they gave me this really sweet card, and they wrote really sweet things inside. But as I open this card from the front, then this is what I get.
Wow.
The inside says, but I assume there'd have been a lot less farting. Happy Father's Day. Happy Farters Day. Oops. I mean Father's Day.
That's a great card.
That's a great card.
Now I want to get my card. No, my card. Olivia, every year pretty much Olivia has been drawing me a card. So I got a card that she drew and then wrote nice stuff in.
That's nice. I mean, I give them credit because they certainly, took their time in finding the most appropriate.
It's a great card. And it fits the show, the Pooh show.
I didn't know how long that would go on for. I opened it. And I'm like, oh shit, it's still going. I started to read the really nice comments they wrote, and it's still going like the fart sound. That was some good stuff.
That is good. I like it.
Anyway, that's Father's Day for you. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Post Daddy-O. We got important birthdays coming up in a couple days with Nico turning 49.
Nico!
Raider Rick.
On the
21st turning 45 or whatever he is, that young buck.
He ain't 45. He's one year younger than you. What are you? What are you right now?
48 right now.
He's going to be 48 then.
No, he's not. He's going to be 47. He was always so young.
No, he's not. He's not that much younger than you.
He only had like 5 little facial hairs in high school that twirled around.
That was it was his genetics that made him look so young. That's not his age. There's no way he's 2 years younger than you, and he was in the same grade as you.
He was that smart, and I was dumb. I was held back a grade.
Yeah, I know you were held back a grade. I know, but I'm right. 48 he's going to be. See, it's just common sense.
So
nobody is going to put their kid in a class, or the teachers aren't going to let it. You're telling me that when he was in first grade, he was 3 years old or something like that, or 4 years old? No,
he's a genius. He got a 31 or 32 on his ACT. Like, what do you want?
I know. Olivia got a 30. I got an email today. Olivia made the dean's list in spring again. She made the dean's list in the fall and in the spring. I don't know where my kids get their genius from. They ain't from me. Thank God they got a smart mom.
Don't ask me. I don't.
I mean,
get it
I'm kind of smart, but I don't know. I'm more of a smart ass than a smart guy. So
that's so true. That's accurate.
maybe that helped a little. I don't know.
They got the smart part, not the smart ass part.
Yeah. I think they got the smart part, not the ass part. Yeah,
not the ass part. Yeah. Anyway, well, that's good. My kids are doing pretty good too. I'm very glad about that because, like I said, I'm certainly not that smart of a person or strategic of a person, but I do always try my best.
You're smart enough to know Jaire is overrated as hell.
I mean,
you've been saying it for years.
I got that.
And today you were proven correct.
Even though some Packer
nobody
fans
wanted him.
You're wrong, Jason. You're so mean. Jaire's awesome. He's my favorite player.
You want to hear something really crazy? So on the CBS Sports has Pete Briscoe or whatever his name is.
No, Pete Prisco?
Something like that. Pete Briscoe or Pete Prisco. I can't remember. First of all, CBS doesn't even have football, so I don't know why they even have a football person.
Don't they have Avery Johnson on there too? Talking about
yeah,
football?
They have a couple guys that they shouldn't have anybody because they don't even cover football. It's on ABC, ESPN, NBC, and Fox. Like football is not on CBS. Like, why do they even have anybody? But anyways, he came out with his top 100 players this year.
Wow.
No Packer is rated higher than 60.
Oh.
Jordan Love is 98.
Oh.
Zach Tom is in there, like 87 or somewhere. Tucker Kraft is in there.
Okay.
And Xavier McKinney was the highest rated Packer. So Josh Jacobs wasn't even in there. Or maybe it was Josh Jacobs, not Tucker Kraft. I think it was just Josh Jacobs. It wasn't Tucker Kraft. It should have been Tucker Kraft. It was Josh Jacobs. He wasn't. Tucker Kraft wasn't in there. But here's the part that really, this is why I bring it up.
Yeah.
The Packers would have had 5 players if they didn't cut Jaire. This guy has Jaire as the 79th best player in the NFL. The guy who was just signed for a $4 million 1-year deal by only one team who wanted him because their quarterback went to college with him. And he has him number 79 best player in the NFL. The guy hasn't played more than 50% of the snaps in the last 4 years. His stats are pathetic. He doesn't want to tackle. He barely covers anybody. And he's never half the time on the field. But he's a top 79 player in the NFL. Give me a break. CBS, don't have any football coverage. You guys shouldn't be covering football. It's obvious the people you hire don't know football. But at least you got Zach Tom on there. That I'll agree with. He should be in there. I think he was 87.
Probably because they looked at all his PFF grades. They're like, oh, I guess we got to put this guy in there.
That's probably what they did. But
yeah.
Well, anyways, I just thought you'd think that was funny that Jaire made it onto the top 100, the CBS top 100 NFL players going into the 2025 season. Number 79, Jaire Alexander, who barely can make a football team, making $4 million on a 1-year contract.
I just don't understand. Like, once a couple people say you're really good or whatever, somehow that sticks for a long time for some of these dudes, and it is weird. It's weird.
It is really weird. The other guy I have to say is Chris Sims did his top whatever how many quarterback tier list. Mm-hmm. This year he did a pyramid tier thing. And I don't know what is going on. He had CJ Stroud or whatever.
Yeah, they love CJ Stroud.
Higher than Justin Herbert.
I don't know why Justin Herbert's kind of played. He's had some rough years because he got nobody to throw to.
He's got nobody to throw to, and his coach doesn't want to put the ball over the ball. They
drafted one little white dude who he threw to all the time last year because he's the only guy that could be consistent and catch the ball.
CJ Stroud had 20 touchdowns last year.
CJ Stroud was terrible. I had him as my fantasy quarterback. He sucked balls.
Aaron Rodgers had a way better year last year than CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers sucked. So I don't understand why everybody thinks CJ Stroud is so good. Also, when he throws a ball, the guy's got to be so wide open because it is a noodle of a pass. There is zero zip on his throws.
That's weird.
He's accurate, but it kind of just floats, and it takes a long time to get there.
He's not that athletic either.
He is not. No. And I don't understand how he's a top 10 quarterback in Chris Sims' rankings. That's and he's higher rated than Baker Mayfield and Josh and Justin Herbert. I don't get it. It blows my mind. I don't understand it.
Where would you put Baker Mayfield currently after the last couple of years now?
I would put him in the top. I'd put him like, I would say if I'm doing like a tier list,
yeah,
he's going to be like tier 2.
Me too. I'd say it.
Like, I think it's like, I mean, I think Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL. So I would take Joe at this point. I take Joe Burrow. He's in top tier. And then, you know, the guys who've won MVPs. So that's Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Mahomes, right? Those four guys are like tier 1. Then I got my tier 2, which is Baker and Justin Herbert and probably Jaden Daniels, which sounds crazy, but he was freaking crazy last year.
He was good.
And then I can't think of who else. I don't know. I gotta do my quarterback rankings this year.
You gotta do it too, and you can use Adam Sandler things for your tiers too if you want.
Adam Sandler things.
Well, then you say the one he was like one to touch the Heine or
I want to touch the Heine. Yeah, that was Jordan Love, who by the way was like in the top 15. I think it was like rated 15 or 6, somewhere in there. He didn't give him rankings until they got to the top 10. Then he ranked them in order.
Top 5 for pay, top 20 for
something like that.
Goodness.
Sorry, anyways, I just want to bring that up because I don't know. I don't get the CJ Stroud love. I don't get it.
I don't think he's that good either. It's weird to me. I mean, I guess he played well for a rookie, but it wasn't all that impressive. And then if he doesn't have time, he can't really do anything.
Well, that's an offensive line problem, and we proved that when we played him. That was one of the games where our guys got a bunch of pressure and looked good, right? Because their offensive line stinks. It was against the Titans and against them where I actually looked good.
He's got no escapability. He can't make up for that. He's
got a noodle of an arm.
He is kind of accurate, but there's not a lot of zip on the ball.
No zip. I think it's the weakest arm in the NFL.
The
weakest arm, and that's with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins got a pretty good arm actually, but
he's all right.
But I mean, it's like I would say my guy, Mustache Man, Gardner Minshew's got a stronger arm than CJ Stroud. Wow. And that's not saying much. Gardner Minshew is one of the weaker arms in the NFL too.
Holy cow.
But I think even he's got a better arm than CJ Stroud.
I told you we were going to talk about this. I almost forgot. WNBA, Caitlin's back. But what the hell's wrong? Like, she lights him up in the first game, and then second game, people are trying to beat her up and poke her in the face and punch her. And
dude, that's what they've been doing for the last 2 years. Do you ever watch a game?
These other players are so dumb. She is really the reason why you might get more money. Your league is like, what are you? You guys should be protecting her.
I know.
It all stop so you can
the
get more money.
Officials and the WNBA as an organization should be protecting her, and they are not. If anything, they are purposely trying to not. I don't know. Like, they're trying to make her suck.
Trying to knock her down a peg.
Something else happened this week too, where I don't know. There's a company that made phone cases. They made 8 phone cases, and they did not. They chose WNBA stars. They chose 8 WNBA stars to be on the phone cases.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was Paige Beckers, who's a rookie, the first pick this year. One of them was Angel Reese, who was the 6th pick last year, who's not even a good basketball player, to be honest.
No.
She's really terrible. She can get rebounds. I'll give her that. And she's tall, but that's about it. And then there's like the other, like Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart and all these other, people, Plum, Plum, and a couple of other ones that are on there. No Caitlin Clark.
That's the stupidest. Why?
Like, and not only no Caitlin Clark, but not a single Indiana Fever player. So no Kelsey Mitchell, no Aaliyah Boston. Those are the big 3. They also got Lexi Hull, who's pretty good. They got.
Oh, you got to root for as you should root
Sophia
for the
Cunningham.
They're like the Bucks of the W.
No, they're better than the Bucks. They're like the I don't know what they're like Golden State.
No, they're like the old Bucks who got disrespected. And
A
bunch of crap too, and they always get discredited, but they're actually good.
No, this is worse than that though, because Caitlin Clark is like the single reason that the game she had on Saturday was insane, dude. She was draining shots from it was 7 feet behind the 3-point line. She's just somebody covering her right in her face, and she just pops up and drains a freaking 3 from a million feet away.
Bunch of great passes and stuff in transition, but also in the half court backdoor cuts, and she's bouncing.
That's the way she always is she's awesome. But like, it's not just her. Like I didn't watch the WNBA till last year. And I was just like, what's this all this Caitlin Clark talk, blah, blah, blah. So I watched it and I was like, holy crap. This is fun. You know, great passing, great offense. Like, it's way better than the men's game. Like, I was watching the finals game with Dad on Saturday or Friday night, whatever night it was. Yeah. And it was just set a pick at the top of the key and a guy comes off and tries to shoot a three. And that's all it was. It was boring. Like, there's no ball movement. There's no off ball screens. Like, you know what I mean? It was all on ball screens, pick and roll. Now, it was at the end of the game, so maybe that was just the way they were doing it because it was a tight game and they kept doing it back and forth to try to set it. And then sometimes they do that. I get it. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, there was no set plays. There was no off-ball screens. There was no guys in motion. There was no movement on the half-court offense. It was just one guy has the ball. He's your main guy. He sits at the top of the three-point line. And another guy comes and tries to pick his guy so he can get around and throw up some crappy three that he missed. That's not fun to watch. It's just not.
Did you also notice how much more they let people just like grab and hold and like go, like things that would have been called fouls in Jordan's day that are like not called fouls anymore? They just don't call them. It's kind of crazy how much
in regular NBA.
Yeah, how much physicality and stuff, like the way these great defenders play, like they are up on them, they're hand checking, they're doing all this stuff. They can jump in the air and make body contact as long as they're vertical and not going into their space. Like all these other things. Like if you go back and think about the Jordan years and stuff, all those were fouls.
Well, only for Jordan though. And that's the difference in the WNBA right now. Caitlin Clark doesn't get any of those calls.
No.
Not only that, she gets her grabbed and poked and pulled and all this crap, and they don't call shit. And then when she gets up and complains about it, they call a technical on her. And then the other day, the one chick, Mayberry, goes and after she gets poked in the eye, and then she kind of shoves the girl away, and then the Mayberry comes and body checks her, and she falls to the ground, and they didn't even give her anything. Jesus. They didn't kick her out of the game or nothing. And then later in the game, Sophie Cunningham, who's Caitlin's teammate, went and freaking tackled the chick going up for a layup, and then they kicked her out.
Yeah.
But I'm like, God dang it. She's standing up for her teammate.
They should do it. They should win it all this year now. No one's crap.
Well, I don't know. They were playing pretty rough at the beginning of the year. I think Caitlin was hurt, and she was missing shots, and she didn't look as good. So her 2 weeks off helped because she came back and was freaking killing it. Draining shots left and right, freaking off passes. And
it's fun. I've been recording games and watching them at times, and
yeah, they're good.
I like it.
Well, now you're going to have to get some Caitlin Clark socks like me.
I'm going to have to. I might get the underwear, though, instead.
Whoa, that's weird. Nobody wants to. How's anybody going to know? I think they're only women's underwear. That's why it's weird.
Oh. Well, I mean, I could be okay with that. We'll see.
That's weird, man.
If I get the right size, maybe it'd be okay.
You have to get like granny panties. Otherwise, it's going to be not enough room for the nutsacks.
All right, anyways, I'll give the tank T instead. How's that? We'll see how it goes. All right.
I don't know if anybody stayed around for WNBA
you know what?
talk.
Let's go to a Fever game sometime. You and me. Let's do it.
They're too expensive.
Too expensive. You know what I was thinking about? The WNBA expanded and blah. Like Wisconsin, don't you think if Wisconsin had a team, they would support it?
Yeah.
Wisconsin pretty much shows up for crap, right? If you got a team and they don't like totally suck, the people are going to come out. So let's get a Wisconsin W team, man.
It'd have to be in Milwaukee.
Maybe it could be in Madison. Because it's off season for the college. So you got places they could play. They could play the Kohl's Center.
That's true.
You got places they could play, and this town likes basketball. And I don't know, man. Be kind of fun. I'd rather go to that than a sweaty ass soccer game. It's 90 degrees out or whatever. Rather go to
soccer. I don't understand it.
Basketball game.
You
know you're gonna have to go to another hot soccer game this summer.
Actually, no, because that's the same weekend as Nico's going by Nico's.
What?
I talked to Sarah about it this weekend.
Oh shoot! She's got to change her weekend. She got to schedule this stuff better.
That's when it is. There's nothing you can do about that.
Man, priorities. He'll have more soccer weekends.
And she's like, "Did you just see Nick at his wedding?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, Nico, he's my buddy, and I want to go hang out with him and my bro."
It's like over a month ago.
I know we made this plan a long time ago.
Yeah.
She didn't tell me until yesterday or Sunday or Saturday, whatever the hell day it was.
Yeah, she didn't tell me. Well, I'm glad
she only told me because I asked her about it. I was like, well, when is...
I'm glad you took care of that for us. Thank you.
Well, she don't tell me nothing.
All right. I think that's a good end of the show. Maybe not.
I don't know. We're not really talking about Packers anymore. So if anybody's still watching, I apologize because we're just blabbing about nothing. Dad fart cards.